This is the story of how I lost my leg. No, not that one. Not that one either. This one. If you want to know how I lost Lefty, check out this link. Has anyone seen Lefty? I keep losing him. Insurance is a dumb reason to lose a leg. It'd sound cooler if I'd lost my leg to a shark. But alas, life is sometimes dumb. After amputation, the stump is super swollen. It might have something to do with the circulation being cut off, literally. When that swelling goes down, the leg will be a completely different size. So insurance doesn't want to cover a prosthetic socket while the leg is super swollen. By contrast, you have an impatient patient who wants a leg ASAP. The solution comes in the form of a tight, stretchy tube sock called a shrinker. Wearing a shrinker pushes fluid out of the leg, expediting the unswelling process. Unswelling is a super technical term. At 3.5 weeks post-amputation, I was given a shrinker and was told to wear it for at least 2 weeks before insurance would let my prosthetist make a mold of my leg. While waiting for those 2 weeks to pass, I entertained myself by preparing for a marathon. I'd never done a marathon before, but had a feeling that this was my year. The week of amputation, I signed up last minute to do an Independence Day race in a borrowed racing wheelchair. It was a fun 15K through the mountains, but it didn't satisfy my hunger for a full marathon. Forget about half marathons. There would be no half measures here. Go big or go home. If you want to see me crash that same chair on the same mountain, check out this video. Anyhow, after wearing the shrinker for 2 weeks, I had the requisite appointment with my surgeon, wherein he officially recommended that I be approved for a prosthetic leg. When I'd checked all the boxes, it was time to get the leg making process going. At 6 weeks post-amputation, a cast was made of my leg. Now I had to wait for a test socket to be made. So I went home and continued training for my marathon.
Look what I caught.
Not bad for being stuck in a wheelchair. See you, little snake. I've got to keep training. 1 week later, the test socket was ready. It looked like a glass glass prosthesis, which is why Cinderella made a video all about test sockets. As for me, the process was harder than expected. Subconsciously, I'd assumed that I'd basically jump up, start blissfully walking, overjoyed to be on 2 feet again. Sort of. Instead, the socket was anything but comfortable. That's why we have test sockets, so adjustments can be made before the final carbon fiber socket is produced, because plastic can be heated up and adjusted, whereas carbon fiber can't. I left without a leg and resumed training for my marathon by going up a steep hill during the week and going on the actual marathon course on Saturdays. The next week, I returned for another round with the test socket.
Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Just because it'd been made from a cast of my leg and consequently fit me exactly, didn't mean there weren't sore points. When doctors amputate, they bevel the bone so it won't cut into the surrounding tissue. It takes the bone a long time to fully heal from this technique. It was safe to walk on, but it was very grumpy when I put weight on it. So my prosthetist adjusted the socket to divert pressure away from the sore spot on my bone. After much tweaking, we were satisfied and agreed that it was time for the real deal. I again left without a leg, this time with the assurance that next time would be different. Next time that leg would be mine. I kept training, counting down the days until I'd have my carbon fiber cyborg leg. The day before the marathon, I drove down to meet my new leg. I think I'll call him Rodney.
I'm okay.
Get it? Rodney? I sat in the clinic, eagerly awaiting the arrival of my leg. Like I said, a shark is a way cooler reason to lose a leg. The prosthetist walked in.
That's very nice.
I saw my leg in all its heavy metal glory. Eagerly, I reached for it.
We've run into a problem.
Come again?
You were in a wheelchair even before amputation, and before that you were on crutches for years. Prosthetic limbs cost tens of thousands of dollars. To make sure insurance will cover them, our clinic sends claims to someone who reviews them. They don't think insurance will cover the leg I made for you because you're too weak to use it.
Say what? Think they got you weak and feeble? I'm doing a marathon tomorrow. This is personal now. You think I'm infirm? We duel at dawn. I race you up the hill. First one up wins. Winner gets the leg.
You're thinking along the right lines, but instead of a race, we're gonna do a K test.
You want to give me a test? Bring it. Wait, what is a K level anyway? Time for K-Levels 101. A K-level is a classification that determines what type of prosthetic components an amputee will be given. The higher the K-level, the more active and generally more expensive the prosthesis will be. If you're a K1 amputee, good luck getting your insurance to pay for a K3 leg. Wait, are you saying someone with a lower number K-score doesn't get as good of a leg as someone with a higher number K-score? That's not fair! Where is it? Higher level prosthetic feet tend to have more energy return. Rephrased, they're springier. Imagine your granny as an amputee with a spring on her residual limb. Unless your granny's super hardcore, that spring is going to have too much motion and increase her risk of falling. Oh, sounds like someone's at the door. I'm sure my leg springy thingy will support me. Mittens, call 911. Mittens. Knew I should have gotten a dog. Dogs are more loyal. So it's not just about insurance being stingy. It's about matching the right leg to the right level of activity. A K0 patient doesn't get a prosthetic leg at all because she doesn't have the ability or potential to use that leg. That's a key word. Potential. Even if you can't do something now, if you have the potential to do it later, that should be taken into account. Picture an amputee who's also paralyzed. Even if she had a prosthetic leg, she couldn't stand on it. So she lacks the ability and the potential to use the prosthesis.
I'm gonna print off another copy of the test. I'll be right back.
Have fun. I'll be busy warming up. Yeah. I don't know what this K-test will be like, but it's a matter of life or limb, or technically just limb. Feel like I used to before a Taekwondo match, only this time the trophy is my leg. I feel so weak and feeble. I've got to win. A K1 patient tends to be sedentary. Ow. This amputee has the ability or potential to transfer in and out of a wheelchair and walk on level surfaces around her house. She doesn't need to check both boxes. One or the other qualifies her as a K1 amputee. The foot she's given isn't very mobile, but it's sturdy, which is what a K1 amputee needs.
Alright, I've got the test. I'm going to read off different activities, then score you based on how you perform them. Based on your file, insurance is going to view you as a K2 amputee. But the leg we've made for you is a K3. K3 unlocks so many options, so you've got to score at least a K3 level if you want this leg.
K2 is a step up from K1. Literally, since the K2 amputee can go up a couple steps, or walk up a ramp and step over a curb. She could go out in the community where there's a variety of surfaces, some of which may be uneven. Now I feel insulted. I'm a black belt, not an invalid. Sort of. Please, please, please don't be offended if you're a K2 patient. I'm just saying that on the eve before a marathon, to be told that not only my physical capabilities, but my potential only extended to walking around town after I'd spent months training for a marathon didn't sit well with me.
First, we'll test your sitting balance. Sit forward in your chair with your arms folded across your chest for 60 seconds.
Not too hard.
Next, we're going to test how well you will rise from a chair. Fold your arms across your chest and stand up.
Okay.
Good. If you had used your hands, I would have had to dock a point.
Oh, so that's the kind of game we're playing, is it? This leg, my leg, is a K3 leg. K3 is when the fancy prosthetic components start to come into play, because a K3 amputee can move with variable cadence. Instead of just walking at a steady rate, she can change her speed and type of movement. If I'm walking through a crosswalk and the light turns yellow, I can speed up to get out of the intersection. A K3 amputee may need a more mobile prosthesis because of her job, exercise, or an unfair number of yellow lights. A K3 amputee can have springs, hydraulic angles, carbon fiber, all sorts of other cool things. Once you make it to K3, most of your prosthetic options are unlocked. So did I make it? So, do I get my leg now? How'd I do?
We've got a new problem.
Uh-oh.
You only missed 1 point.
That is a problem. I was aiming for 100%.
No, the problem is that you scored too high. Insurance is never going to believe that someone who was wheelchair-bound pre-amputation could have scored as a K4.
I'm a K4? Don't know what that means, but sweet.
Not sweet. If we submit this claim, your insurance will think we falsified your score.
Then let's do it again. On camera. I hobbled into frame trying to look weak and feeble, then tossed away my crutches and proceeded to shamelessly show off. A K4 amputee goes beyond basic movement. She's someone who will engage in high-impact, high-energy activities. I'm talking jumping, running, kicking people in the head. Sorry, Bob. Okay, maybe I made up that last one, but you get the point. This is an active adult or athlete or a child, because kids are often a big ball of high-impact energy. Being a runner isn't enough to justify a K4 classification. This amputee needs to take things to the next level, like being a professional athlete or running marathons. A K4 prosthesis may have a higher energy return and shock absorption.
I've hardly ever had K4 patients. Most of my patients lost their limbs due to diabetes or cardiovascular problems. There's not a big difference between a K3 and a K4 everyday leg, unless you're an above knee amputee, in which case you might get a better knee.
I was grinning when I finished. My trophy was my foot, and he was mine. I went home triumphant, leg in hand, or rather, on stump. The next morning, I was up before the sun. It was time for my first marathon.
5 more minutes.
K-levels are important to amputees, but they can feel arbitrary because you never know when insurance will disagree with your providers. The K-test helps, but it isn't everything. Providers and insurance companies will consider your history, desire to be active, current condition, other health problems, and how you used any prior prosthetic devices. My history as a martial artist and my desire to resume high-impact activities help to justify my K-level. If you're a bilateral amputee, you could potentially get classified at a higher level than what your test performance implies, if you can justify it. I mean, how can an amputee jump over a 10-centimeter object if they don't have any feet? If you're from a country other than the United States, let me know in the comments what's similar and what's different. Come closer, I'll kick your Yes! I guess I fibbed when I said I lost my leg because of insurance. I should have said I almost lost my leg, but won it back through sheer sauce. The marathon was awesome. The weather was beautiful and I felt pumped. My goal to do a marathon was born the week I got put in a wheelchair.
Thank you, puppies.
Several months before amputation was even scheduled. Now I was passing through country fields and marshlands where birds and crickets chirped, feeling the wind in my hair. When I crossed the finish line, the real trophy wasn't the medal. It wasn't even my new leg. It was a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. At 10 weeks post-amputation, it was a great way to start my life as an amputee. There is only one thing more that would make it perfect. Show that to the insurance. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss future adventures. If you enjoyed today's video, check out this playlist to learn more about me, or watch this video if you need a laugh. I'm Stepanina. Thank you for joining me on my Amputee adventures.